closed. The majority leader will open on the motion. Following, the representative from House District 100 will have an opportunity to make remarks. We will then have 3 proponents and 3 opponents. Each member will have 5 minutes to speak, and then the motion sponsor can close. Without objection, Majority Leader Vinton, would you open on your motion?
Mr. Speaker and members, the oath of each individual member and that member's duty under it is to act conscientiously for the general good. Pursuant to Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure, every member of a legislature is presumed to be the equal of each member, and each has rights that must be respected. The rights of the minority and the majority both must be protected. Freedom in this body involves obedience to all the rules of this body, including the rules of decorum. Mason's Section 121, Sub 2 states, "No person may participate in conduct that disrupts or disturbs the orderly proceedings of the body." Mason's Section 561, Sub 1 states, "A legislative body has the right to regulate the conduct of its members and may discipline a member as it deems appropriate." Monday, this body witnessed one of its members participating in conduct that disrupted and disturbed the orderly proceedings of this body. This member did not accede to the order of the Speaker to come to order and finally to clear the floor, and instead encouraged the continuation of the disruption of this body, placing legislators, staff, and even our pages at risk of harm. For these reasons, it is my motion that the representative from House District number 100 will no longer be admitted to this floor, House anteroom, or House gallery for the duration of the session until the 68th legislature adjourns sine die. Mr. Speaker.
Representative Zephyr, would you like 5 minutes to make remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my honor today, as with every day in this body, to rise on behalf of my constituents in House District 100 from Missoula, Montana, who elected me to be their representative in the People's House. Today, I rise in defense of those constituents, of my community, and of democracy itself. Last week, I spoke on the governor's amendments to Senate Bill 99, which banned gender-affirming care. This was a bill that was one of many targeting the LGBTQ community in Montana. This legislature has systematically attacked that community. We have seen bills targeting our art forms, our books, our history, and our health care. And I rose up in defense of my community that day, speaking to harms that these bills bring and that I have firsthand experience knowing about. I have had friends who have taken their lives because of these bills. I have fielded calls from families in Montana, including one family whose trans teenager attempted to take her life while watching a hearing on one of the anti-trans bills. And in that hearing, our caucus pleaded with the Republican chair of the Judiciary Committee to not allow certain testimony, to keep decorum. And we were told a lot of people have a lot of opinions on these things. So when I rose up and said, "There is blood on your hands," I was not being hyperbolic. I was speaking to the real consequences of the votes that we as legislators take in this body. And when the Speaker asks me to apologize, what he is, on behalf of decorum, what he is really asking me to do is be silent when my community is facing bills that get us killed. He is asking me to be complicit in this legislature's eradication of our community, and I refuse to do so, and I will always refuse to do so. I would also say that if you use decorum to silence people who hold you accountable, then in the name of all you are doing is using decorum as a tool of oppression. Additionally, when the Speaker disallowed me to speak, what he was doing is taking away the voices of the 11,000 Montanans who elected me to speak on their behalf. And when I continued to not be recognized, What my constituents in my community did is came here and said, that is our voice in this body. Let her speak. Let her speak. And when the speaker gavelled down the people demanding that democracy work, demanding that their representative be heard, when he gavelled down, what he was doing is driving a nail in the coffin of democracy. But you cannot kill democracy that easily. And that is why they kept chanting, let her speak. And why I raised my microphone to amplify their voices, to make sure that the people who elected me here are heard. And that when this body seeks to pass bills that harm our community, that get us killed, that this body is held accountable for those actions. I'm not sure what comes next here, but what I will say is I will do what I have always done. I will rise in support of my community. I will take the hard and moral choice and stand up in defense of the people who elected me to do so and the people in our communities. And I will say I'm grateful for those who stood up in defense of democracy on Monday. And I will also say that I hear everyone. I hear my constituents. I hear your constituents who say thank you for standing up. And while there were comments about safety, I would say that the protest was peaceful. And I would also say that when we talk safety, we think about the safety that our bills bring or don't bring. Because you say there was staff endangered, but I know in this building, in the quiet hallways when it's just me, the staff come up to me and they say thank you. They say thank you for defending our community because they have loved ones who these bills attack, who these bills hurt. And I will always stand up for them. And I will always, no matter what happens today, stand up for democracy in the state of Montana. Thank you.
Representative Windy Boy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to speak on the motion before us from a different point of view. You know, we're talking about some of the things about the trans community throughout not only the state of Montana, but also throughout the country and beyond into Canada. You know, the community that I represent does have trans in my community. And to some tribes, we call them two-spirit people. My late uncle, who was one of my teachers, one of my mentors in my way of life, has always told me one thing to keep in mind, that no matter who we are, that we are all equal under the eyes of Almighty. And always remember, he said, when you point your finger at somebody, look how many is pointing back. And so when you take that into context, that with this thing here that's before us, there's a lot of events that happen not only in this body, but over in the body of the Senate in the last 21 years, as well as the 21 years and 11 sessions I've seen here. This is nothing compared to some of the events that occurred that we're making this as egregious as they are. We had a Democrat leader that sat right in that third row there, fourth row, almost go fisticuffs with the representative on the other party on the other side over there. And the Great Falls Tribune even has pictures in their gallery that had them going at it. That was uncalled for. That was so much unrest here. Why weren't they taken to the level of this? Maybe it was because of whatever situation that was at the time. And even over in the Senate, there was votes that were taken, there were bills that were on the floor that we were in the minority been silenced. And we got up and we hit the desk. We almost got charged for messing up the state's property. Why weren't we disciplined at that time? We should have. I would have went to jail because I would have been found guilty. But at the same time, we are picking one person in this body for something that she believes is right. The one situation that she stands to represent the same amount of people that I represent, the same amount of people that she represents, he represents, she represents down the line. But yet we stand in solidarity with each other to the level of where we should get along. That's what it is. In the last, since 2016, that's when the whole country had gone so far right, so far left to the values that just pits one against the other. And exactly the same verbiage that my colleague here is being in a situation where she can't come in here. There's a Florida congressman who said the same words last week. Why hasn't the Congress disciplined him? What we're doing to my colleague here. What's good for them should be good for us, vice versa. So I think that we need to just put this behind us, let her represent the people that she represents. Let's get on and let's do the people's work, what they sent us here for. Vote no.
Representative Casey Knutson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the 68th Legislature, you know, one of the most important rights of any legislative body is the right to regulate the conduct of its members, as well as discipline a member as the body deems appropriate. A state legislative body possesses inherent rights of self-protection, which is reflected in our own House rules in the definition of a question of privilege, which includes anything that affects the collective rights, safety, dignity, and integrity of the House. Our state constitution provides that either House may punish a member with good cause shown with the concurrence of 2/3 of all of its members. Our state constitution, our House rules, and Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure all reinforce the fact that this House, this body, holds dear the right to self-protection. We today are exercising this right based on the inappropriate behavior on the House floor of the representative from House District 100 on April 24th, 2023. This behavior violated the collective rights and safety of 99 other members of this body, our staff, our pages, and the public. And based on this showing of good cause, I would recommend a yes vote on the motion to discipline the representative from House District 100. Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I hope no one is expecting any jokes from me today, because I think what we're doing here is deeply, deeply serious. I want to echo my friend and colleague in seat 31 and remind us why we're here. We're here because we are struggling with a debate that we have had from the beginning of this session on a set of bills. Bills that directly and daily impact the LGBT community. I will remind the body that not one Democrat brought any of those bills. We did not go to look for that fight. But when it came to us, we did what we had to do. We did our job. We stood up. We stood with our community. We told the truths that we live every day. We hoped you would listen. That's our job. It is deeply unsurprising to me that the community responded on Monday the way that they did. Because it's not just that one of our own has been silenced. It's that that's happened after a session of debating bills that only impact some of us and struggling to fight for equal treatment under the law. I will remind folks that the right to protest, and in fact the right to protest against the government, is a clearly held right in both the state constitution and the federal constitution, and we took oaths to protect those constitutions. I want to note for the record that my experience, personally, in this body and in this building, although I love my job and I show up every day eager to do it, is that I have faced a series of offensive behaviors and offensive actions. There are people in this room who have said things about me in the press and online that I find deeply offensive. Deeply offensive. And I find that there's been a pattern of unwillingness to listen to a diverse set of opinions on the bills in front of us, and that is our job. I know without a doubt that there are deeply held disagreements about the bills that we hear, about the policies that we are debating. And those disagreements are part of the process. We have to be able to discuss them, even when it's uncomfortable. I know that we have rules. The speaker before me laid them out in some clarity. I believe that those rules must be held not to protect us as individuals, our feelings, our experiences, but to protect the process, to protect our job, the work that we are doing to pass bills and policies that touch the lives of every Montanan in this state. And that is where I think we have gone deeply wrong in this process, because we are considering these rules not to protect the rights of all of us to engage in our democratic process, something I hold sacred, but instead to protect us as people, as individuals. It is time for us to put the work first. That's our job. We were not elected to come up here and put ourselves first. None of us were. I believe a yes vote on this motion puts our democratic process, our important jobs as legislators second, and puts our feelings and experiences first. And I think that's wrong. I think we have one shot to right this ship, and it's this vote. And I hope some of you will join me in voting red.
Representative Beatty.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak on this motion. The behavior of the representative of House District 100 has been in the news for over a week. And I must admit that opinions concerning her prior utterances vary, even within my caucus. But today, we're not here to pass judgment on what might have been said or done before this past Monday, but rather to consider the specific actions that we're taking on a specific day. Now, it's an irrefutable fact that the representative in question did indeed actively support and arguably incite the disruptive antics of demonstrators who had gathered in the House gallery. But it's also true that the representative had other options. One was to join other legislators by leaving the floor as was directed by the Speaker. Another would have been to try to calm the crowd. The representative of House District 100 chose neither. And so here we are. As a consequence of the representative's actions, the orderly workings of this body had to be suspended so that we could not proceed with doing our duty, which is to conduct the business of all citizens of Montana. This is an assault on our representative democracy. Spirited debate and the free expression of ideas cannot flourish in an atmosphere of turmoil and incivility. Undoubtedly, some will cast and indeed have cast this matter in terms of freedom of speech or the oppression of a minority. I would argue it is neither. Rather, what is at stake is the expectation that any member of this body, whoever that might be, has a duty to strive to maintain decorum so that the people's work, the work of all Montanans, can be accomplished. The representative of House District 100 failed to do her duty. Worse yet, she actively participated in disrupting the lawful activities of this legislature. Such behavior must have consequences if we are to keep our processes in place, the processes that serve all Montanans. And for that reason, I must support the motion that is before us today, and I urge you to do so as well. Mr. Speaker.
Minority Leader Abbott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, I think most of you know I wish we were debating other things on this floor today, and I wish the gallery was full of Montanans engaging in the legislative process. I wish a lot of things, but that's not where we are. Mr. Speaker, I disagreed with your decision not to recognize the representative in seat 31, and you know that because we discussed it. I told you that I thought there were other paths that we could take, House Rule 2080 being the clearest one. It would have allowed for us to have debates on hard issues and maintain order. That is a tool that was available to us, and I think it's important that we talk about how we got here, and you didn't take that tool. And there's one person that had the ability to avoid being on this floor right now debating this motion, and it wasn't the representative in seat 31. And now we're far beyond the rules that allow us to debate issues here. I agree with other speakers on my side of the aisle that we are in first principles, we are in democratic principles, we are talking about constitutionally protected rights and the very nature of a representative democracy, ensuring that 11,000 people have proper representation. And today, I'm standing up for those first principles, and I'm standing up for democracy, and I'm going to vote against this motion. But it should not go without saying, and I think it's obvious to a lot of us, that there is an opportunity cost to choosing this path. We don't have a state budget. We don't have a plan for housing. We don't have a plan for childcare. We don't have a plan for permanent property tax relief. We don't have a plan for mental health. We don't have a plan for provider rates. And today we're on this floor debating this motion, and hopefully we can get back to work. I sure hope so. But today I'm going to vote in support of constitutional principles. And you know what? I agree that you absolutely can do this by rule, by the Constitution, by Masons. But just because you can do it does not mean that's the right choice. I think it's the wrong choice. I hope we don't make it today, but if we do, we'll have to move on and see if we can get the work of Montanans done. But today I have to show Montanans that we care about these first principles first, and we'll deal with our business later. I hope you vote no. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Moore.
Yes, Mr. Speaker and members of the body, I stand here in favor of the motion that is before us. The offense that occurred on April 24th by the representative House District 100 is irrefutable. We all witnessed firsthand the violations that have already been articulated, and were also witnessed throughout local and national media. There's a fundamental human principle that each of us are responsible for our actions, for ourselves, and we bear the consequences of our behavior and our actions. Today, I would like to focus more on the reasonableness of the motion. We're not wanting to ignore what happened, nor are we wanting to overreact. The disciplinary actions that are proposed, from my perspective, are reasonable and prudent, and the measures proposed ensure the safety of the body and all who participate in the work of the House. With these articulated consequences, let's clearly understand that the representative continues to serve our state. The representative will continue to have the opportunity to serve District 100, vote on all bills before the floor of the House, and to complete the 2-year term. It's my opinion that the discipline proposed is fair and reasonable given the circumstances. This motion allows the representative to serve constituents and provides an opportunity to re-engage with the entire body in the future. I am hopeful that we will be able to complete our current session in the coming days with honor, finishing well. I am also hopeful that the representative being disciplined will understand the significance of the actions taken on April 24th and that future engagement with this body will resume. My desire is that this session and the sessions before us will have lively debates, respecting one another, and continuing to serve Montanans well. I urge your support for this motion.
Majority Vinton, would you care to close on your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. We have heard the debate. We were all present and observed the conduct of the representative from House District 100 on April 24th. This conduct cannot be allowed to stand. Our constituents and our state deserve better. They deserve our full attention, and this institution and body deserve the respect of all its members. However, it has not been respected, and we must regain the decorum of this body, not only now, but also to set precedent for the future. Therefore, good cause has been established, and I urge the body to vote in favor of this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, members, this is a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of the majority leader's motion vote aye. Those opposed vote no. Clerk, record the vote. Are there absentee votes?
Mr. Speaker, Representative Weatherwax votes no.
Clerk, record the vote.
Mr. Speaker, 68 representatives vote aye, 32 have voted no.
Motion passes. Majority Leader Vinton.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House adjourn and reconvene Thursday, the 83rd legislative day at 8 a.m.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed no, and the ayes have it, and the House will reconvene at 8 a.m. on Thursday, April 27th. The House is adjourned.